of cream, red roses too. I see them blue.
This is Ed Perrin, your broadcast host of Global Radio Talk Show. Our guest today is James Tarantin, an author, a philosophical thinker, and founder of Tarantin Dream. Let's welcome James.
Ed, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you very much for being my special guest. Tell us a little bit about where you're from and when you came to the U.S.
My family was born in Jerusalem as well as myself, and I traveled a lot in my life, especially to Europe and Asia. And I came to the United States when I was 18 and a half, something like that. And I think that my experiences in life, I think that the main experience that I had that changed me when I was 16, and my aunt died in a tragic way. For me, when she died, so there must be some sort of an equation, what inspired me, for the book, that is to a degree hidden in the margins of history, and that I can find a solution for the science of accomplishment. That I think the main experience that changed my life. And I was 16 at the time. I read, many exotic books, and 6 months later, literally at the turn of the millennium, after I traveled to a very nice adventure to Rome, I saw the equation in a dream. But I decided at the time to put it on the shelf. I was too young, and I was afraid that people might not see it. So when I was 25, I decided that it's time to take matters into my own hands and handwrote the equation into what I fundamentally believe the first transformative book that, through a real life story, reveals the solution to the science of accomplishment. So my aunt's tragedy, I think, was the main experience in my life that made me reach to where I am today.
Tell me about your friend Larry King.
Absolutely. So that's also connected to the name of the company, Tarantin Dream, which is the idea of having a dream. Meaning in 2008, literally I put everything that I had on the table for a media initiative, and I founded Tarantin Dream with the guidance of my fierce friend and mentor, Larry King. And very much like John F. Kennedy said, I am a Berliner, meaning being a citizen of the world. And Larry always taught me that it's so important, because of that theory, to raise the dreams of perfect strangers. So without knowing anything about me, Larry King took a poor 22-year-old immigrant and with unconditional love, not just once, but for 5 years straight, gave me all the care and guidance, all for that I will be able to publish the equation book that will come to life and help both immigrants and Americans, and young and old, to achieve their dreams. So that's how Larry King is connected to Tarantin Dream, and also to the equation book, which he sponsored and endorsed, completely calling it also the science of accomplishment.
The Tarantin Dream is focused on achievement, but more so it begins first with self-awareness.
You're right. So I believe the Tarantin Dream is fundamentally connected, and it's deriving its power from the equation book, which is its main activity and content. For me, the equation book, the main thing, it inspires, and that's what gives me the measures to achieve my goals with the company, and also what I want people to also see, is that the equation book, I believe, inspires for you to free your mind. And I believe that this is exactly what people who are old, who seek for the fountain of youth, or people who are young, who wants to seek something more. To free your mind is what people really want, is to search for something more. So the equation for me accomplished my dreams, and I also believe that immigrants will come along with me to see it, that it's more than self-empowerment or even luck or talent. But the equation invites everyone to literally write for themselves a completely new future, gain wealth, and transform, I believe, to completely new heights that they never experienced before. So the equation not just is the main content of Tarantin Dream, but also my own philosophies, how I reached the success that I had from the philosophy of to free your mind. And also, if I may, is that the equation says, if you have a tragedy, you can transform. Meaning there's a line of Steve Jobs where he's saying, being fired by a rifle was the best thing that ever happened to me. Tragedy is the key for transformation, even in business or your personal life.
You're talking about synthesizing it and applying it towards a specific goal?
Yes. So the idea here is that the equation book fundamentally states to people, okay, if you have a tragedy, you can transform. And from that, the message here is don't have a limited life. Is once in your life, grab for something more, compete to expand, transformation is not a matter, it's not a game of inches, meaning you can literally transform right now and have quantum leaps and reach the goal that you want in life, meaning not just to succeed in real estate or succeed as an artist, but literally aspire and touch the dreams that you never thought were possible by turning the painful tragedies that you had, understanding them from your past, and how to turn them to triumphant transformation. And then you get the energy that you need to write for yourself a completely new future. That's what I believe. It's beyond positive thinking or beyond just mere practical tools. What should I do on a daily basis?
So you're talking about expansion of one's character, of one's current head, if you will, and thinking about what do you really want to do, and that becomes an expansion of oneself out of the past into a future.
Absolutely. You got, if I may say, you got the equation down.
Now, let's go back to some of the things you did. Specifics. Result is that you've made money and have become a success.
We succeeded to have several rounds of financing that I raised from the company, of course, with Larry King's assistance, and that succeeded to fund all the things that we needed for the Equation book. And for the Equation is going to be the first transformative book ever to have an action fantasy mobile game that we're releasing in a matter of 3 weeks. So it's very much, think about it in that way, is, mobile games are something of the future, new, one of the most prolific sectors of technology. And books are of the past, meaning to some degree are ancient content. So the beauty here, which I believe is the unity of value, where you unite these two different sectors under one name, meaning how you take the philosophies of the Equation and you now portray that through an action fantasy mobile game, meaning the idea of transformation, the idea that you can design your own destiny, that you can expand right now and immediately achieve wealth. How can you convey all of that through an action fantasy mobile game that has to be fun, sensational, and with mesmerizing designs and home run programming? There's going to be an animation style, but the designs are going to be literally for the first time. I don't think there's any mobile game today that will have these sorts of unique designs, and also the story behind it, because sometimes mobile games do not have a story, it's just a game. Here we have the story, because the Equation book itself is not a bullet point or a retold story, but truly an authentic, inspiring story that has, as you said, out-of-the-box philosophies, has ancient treasures, a transformation, and sometimes these books that have all this stuff are quite boring. So I believe that despite the depth of the Equation book, the book is very short, it's only 172 pages, has chic, and young adults who read the book love it so much because of its exotic adventures and magical landscapes and the battles and the wish for love. So that's also give us a very good platform to create the mobile game, which always appeals to young adults rather than people in later stages of their life.
James, have you begun to speak to corporate groups?
Yes, when you speak to corporate companies, I think, and also even in the Equation book, we have something called the Corporate Code, which are 13 articles of how corporations and conglomerates should literally conduct their business from, if I may say, such a level of enlightenment. And, one of the lines there that I always believe is the idea that you have to go against the gods of risk. Meaning reward is risk, risk is reward. And that's something emotional. That's a transformational thing. It's not something school can teach you how to go against the gods of risk. It's something, it's pure intuition, pure sixth sense that both young people want. It doesn't matter what you do, or whether you are the executive chairman of a worldwide conglomerate. That's the key for a healthy and wealthy enterprise.
Your mobile game would be a way to communicate with millennials, young people in the workforce.
You got the Equation down. It's truly that. The idea is how do you approach young adults today that don't have the means to go to school and have no family and have nobody to support them and have no connections? How do you reach out to them through means that they like, the pop culture and mobile games, and inspire them through these means, inspiring means, to get these out-of-the-box philosophies and let them transform, that they can literally achieve what they want. I always believe something very simple. There is nothing more important than people achieving their dreams. That's the core of what everybody wants, more than anything. And that's the goal of the Equation book, as well as the company, is to, for the first time, give them the solution for the science of accomplishment. And I absolutely agree with you with what you just said.
I think it's really important to understand the science of accomplishment. What are the top 3 steps? How do you do it?
First of all, what the book does, before I go there, it doesn't tell that you through a bullet point. You get that through a story. That's why it's much more inspiring. Sometimes when you get things in bullet points, you get that for the moment, but you're not inspired by it. The book fundamentally tells it to you through a real-life story. That's one that I believe people will get that better, will understand that better, will relate to that emotionally, both if you're an immigrant or if you're an American or old or young. That's one. Secondly, is the idea, as I said, if you have a tragedy, you can transform. The book tells you, literally guides you to understand, okay, what are the tragedies that happen to you in your life? And if you have a tragedy, you can transform now. And when you understand that, you literally transform in a way where now what's happening is your capabilities become much more powerful, and you get the energy that you really need to design a new destiny for yourself. You get that superior game-changing advantage to design your own destiny. The book does not apply for people if they say, okay, I'm in a real estate company, and I now want to be, instead of the secretary, I want to be the vice president. The book applies to people who have always had these dreams, and they said, you know what, but I will never reach them. It's for people who want to have something more. It's not positive thinking or mere tools. So it guides you literally in bullet points on the front of how do I transform from a tragedy, that you say, okay, I transform, my capabilities become more powerful, I get the energy that I need, and then life will always conspire for me to accomplish that dream that I always thought would be purely impossible.
So, for instance, I want to take this radio show and make it bigger. And I'm thinking of, finding people like yourself who have something inspiring to say to a lot of people and making it available globally free of charge. And that's what I do. So the goal would be to attract advertisers, for instance, who want to support the series that I'm building. There's a science to accomplishment by way of thinking and steps that I could take in my business world.
Let me give you an example, if I may. Think about, immigrants, okay? Immigrants, the first word that comes to your mind, that they are alone, meaning they have no family, no financial means. Most of them come by themselves. It doesn't matter if you migrate from France to America or from America to Brazil. Immigrant is an immigrant. But when you are alone, you become an orphan. Alone, to a degree, means to be an orphan. Now, the most successful billionaires and most successful pop stars, if you read about their lives, at least 70% were orphans. And that's a fact. And even if you look at our pop culture, Harry Potter was an orphan, Spider-Man was an orphan, Batman was an orphan, Superman was an orphan, Luke Skywalker was an orphan. That tragedy made them transform. And the Equation book draws examples to say, okay, how when you are an orphan, when you are alone, when you have these tragedies, how suddenly fear ceases to exist, and you become a self-made tycoon of your own destiny. And that's a fact, truly. If you see go on Forbes and go on and see the pop culture icons, all of them were orphans almost. It's just unbelievable fact. And that's also what the book fundamentally states. Meaning, the moment you realize it, your mind is open. You free your mind, as I said at the beginning of your show. And when you free your mind, then both wealth and sensational transformation from the inside take over your life. That's one of the laws. Just like there is a laws in corporation, there is a laws to the universe. And that's what happens.
Freeing your mind. Freeing your mind of what? Fear and worry?
Free your mind of fear. Free your mind from all the boxes that, a limited life that sometimes we all live in, meaning that I can only achieve things in inches, and being bounded by time, being bounded by the concept of luck, being bounded by, my teacher told me that I have only that I don't have a high IQ, is to break from all these fears that stain your mind and doesn't let you expand. They just block your mind. You can study all day long. You can go to 5 schools. But if you still have these fears in your mind, you won't get there. You just won't. You can have all the knowledge in the world, but you won't get there as long as you have these fears that box you from really achieving what you want.
We're talking with James Tarantin, the author, and as you can tell, a philosophical thinker. Where can people get the book?
They can get the book right now, which is the Equation book by James Tarantin. They can get it available right now on Amazon worldwide, and also on the Apple Store. And also they can go to our website, which is the-equation.com, and then the sign -equation.com, and get the book and see all of our videos and see all the availability, where the book is being distributed, and also all the information about the Equation mobile game that we really believe will be a grand slam home run for young people who seek sensational entertainment, which at the same time inspire them the next day to go and do a better job for their own future.
Right. Tarantin is spelled Tarantin, Tarantin Dream. Now, you have 5 chief avenues of the mind: pragmatism, enterprises, morality, metaphysics, and aesthetics. And then you have philosophical theory, which explores issues: family life, history, mystical science, philosophy, human evolution, personal success, enterprises, spirituality, beauty, the universe. So let's zero in for a sec on human evolution. How does that work here?
Great question. I'll give you an example. In human evolution, when you, let's say, go deep into that, like a roller coaster, what you see is that, let's say, the thumb is one of the main things that, let's say, distinguish between human beings and animals. The thumb is the thing that gives you precision. The thumb, the human thumb. It's literally also derived from the 3 F's for corporations. Find the problem, fix it, and eliminate it. So the idea here, the thumb is also something that human beings have, unlike animals. So it's, again, the idea how the equation gives you that sort of precision derived from these kind of examples, and also other examples on, how literally a human being can change the way that they even look, that from human evolution and how it's connected to the equation, meaning then when you understand these things, you understand better how to transform and how to design your own destiny from these sorts of examples that just touch the core of your heart, and suddenly the heart becomes on fire.
And what about mystical science? It sounds spooky, but it's really not, is
Absolutely, I'll tell you. Why? It's just like the Da Vinci Code, It sounds spooky, you're right, but it's very much like the Da Vinci Code on that front. It's very much the idea of how you look at numbers, and you say, okay, what is that number trying to tell me? The number 4, or the number 8, or the number 5, they have mystical codes. It's not just the number 4, 2 plus 2 equals 4. They have a meaning. They have something deep there that they are trying to speak to you. And even if you study, look at people, the richest man in the world today as of now, Carlos Slim, I think, he always used to say, when I look at the papers, the numbers speak to me. It's beyond just looking at the bottom line, because many times you can see an opportunity in life, and the numbers make sense, then the next day you say, how could that be? I failed. Even though the numbers were so logical. But it doesn't mean anything. Life is 10 times more powerful than numbers on a piece of paper. But if you look at numbers from a deeper meaning, then you see life differently. Suddenly you see that virtual reality. You get things better, which are more sensational and help you whether you want to be a pop star or whether you want to be a president of a corporation.
Right. Next, the role of beauty. Now, beauty, I think you and I both
know. In the eye of the beholder.
Yeah, but not only that, it's a magnet.
You're right.
What's behind all that?
Behind all of that is truly my belief. The idea that when you transform, there is something that I believe in, that sometimes the way a person looks is a mirror to your own soul. It doesn't mean that if you're a beauty, you have a beautiful soul. Absolutely not. It doesn't mean if you're ugly, you have an ugly soul. But if you look deeper, sometimes the way a person looks conveys a mirror to your own soul. So when your soul transforms, suddenly the way you look also transforms and changes. And the idea here is that there is even some sorts of experiments that they did in Russia on foxes, how suddenly even animals can transform faster by taking certain means. And the same thing, I believe, can happen to people. When suddenly they transform, and I believe the equation book gives them the means to do that, suddenly even the way you look changes a bit. There's something there that even just makes sense by thinking about it. The soul is connected to the way you look. And that's what I mean, looks on that front.
So this relates to personal success and enterprise. In other words, the energy that yourself creates, and then all of a sudden you feel like, well, I can do anything.
Absolutely.
And then you self-actualize it by doing something else, a new challenge.
You got the equation down.
So, my friend, this has been very interesting. So, once again, how can people reach out to you?
They can reach out to me by emailing to info@the-equation.com. They can also go to our website, the-equation.com, and they can reach out to us. And also we have our Twitter, which is @the-equation, and we'll be more than happy to conduct inspiring conversations there. And we promise to reply to each and every one.
Say the Twitter again.
@YesEquation.
@YesEquation?
Yes.
Great. This is James Tarantin, author, philosophical thinker, and the founder of Tarantin Dream. He has studied the mind, pragmatism, enterprises, morality, metaphysics, and aesthetics. What's aesthetics?
Aesthetics is the idea of the looks. There are certain, parts, the way a person look or the way the person move, that conveys a deeper meaning about the person. That's why people have body languages. So aesthetics is connected to that. It's fundamentally from the same home.
So, this sounds a lot like branding, self-awareness, personal branding.
I tell you something, I believe that the equation book is much more, if I may say, than self-awareness. It's more than self-empowerment or luck or talent. It's literally to write for yourself a new future. It's turning the page on the politics of your own past, of blaming and pointing fingers, and literally writing a completely fresh, unprecedented new page that will give you sensation like you never experienced before. And I believe in it, that everybody who will read the book for the first time in their lives will feel that their heart is on fire.
This has been an exclusive interview with James Tarantin, author of The Equation. Give us that website one more time.
No problem. the-equation.com. The word the, and then the symbol dash, and the word equation.
This is Ed Cohen, editor of Global HR News, and the new magazine coming out called IX, signing off from Old Town, San Diego.
What a wonderful world. Yes, I think